Cyclone Alfred, it's got a boy's name this time, and that's an old-fashioned boy's name, is bearing down on the state of Queensland, and obviously parts of New South Wales as well. The latest update is, well, and you always wonder because it's the apocalypse coming. You know, the warning from the media and from all those is the apocalypse is on its way. So I know that there's been emergency buying in Queensland, and for some people, water now can't be purchased. Still coming out of the tap though, but bottled water. And there are power outages that have hit tens of thousands. I'm just saying that's just a normal day in New Zealand, to be honest with you. Power outage hitting tens of thousands of people. Evacuation orders have been issued. But joining us to talk about that and on all other things that have been happening in Australia over the past week, our leader from Australia is Jaqui Lane. Jaqui, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on again.
Michael, always good to chat with you.
Category 2 storm. Expected to cross the coast tonight or early on Saturday morning. Lots of media about it. What's your reaction?
More of the same. You know, I feel sorry for those people up on that coast. You know, it's the area Lismore floods. You know, in 2022 when the whole town got submerged. It is just Australia fire and flood is what kind of typically happens, and sometimes we get them both at once.
Okay. I guess, listen, everybody's taking exactly the kind of, I imagine, defensive patterns that they would in a time like this. I see that hasn't stopped Prime Minister Albanese suggesting that there's a climate change has a particular or potential influence on tropical cyclone Alfred.
Well, I think, not just him. I think, there's this whole pattern of that, weather patterns are changing and they're becoming more severe. And I was reading something, I think yesterday, that the prediction is that there'll be more cyclones that come further south, because typically they hang around up north, around Darwin and up around the tropics. And this is kind of the first one really in, recorded, I think, that's come that far south. So, it's just things are changing, but they change all the time. So, we can argue why they're changing, but certainly I think what I've seen here over 30 years of living here, the severity of these kinds of events are kind of picking up pace. And I guess more populations living in areas where there used to be not that many people. So it's impacting more people.
Too. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
More than 1,000 schools have closed in Queensland. I think about 300 have closed in northern New South Wales as well. Listen, the Army's got involved, I think. Is that right? Up there they're doing civil defence? Yep.
And, I think they learnt from the last major floods up there where everybody really wasn't that prepared, and the communication wasn't great. So I think they've kind of gone into overdrive this time, and to make sure that people are well informed, or as informed as they can be. And still some Fruit Loops are going to the coast to have a look at the waves. How smart is that? But there you go.
Actually, it's funny you should say that, because we've just had a coroner's case in this country about a storm that came, and a surfer went out there thinking, oh my God, this is great surfing condition, got killed, drowned. So obviously, yeah, I don't know, that's just Darwin at work, isn't it, really?
Oh yeah, and there are images of surfers out on the coast right now, enjoying the big waves.
So, listen, the other story of this week, and it was I guess this is a bit of a postscript really, because everybody was asking why, is that a second Sydney nurse who appeared in a video that made threats towards Israeli patients has now been charged by the police. A man and a woman, Ahmed Rashid Nadir, 27, Sarah Abu Lebday, 26, worked at Bankstown Hospital. For some strange and ungodly reason, decided to go on social media and not only to claim Israeli patients or Jewish patients, but also suggest that they're involved in their harming, indeed even killing. They've now arrested him I think. What was the reason it took so long? Do you know?
Look, I don't know. I think they were just going through due process, as they would say, haven't really discovered why. But I think, given the high-profile nature of the thing, I think they probably wanted to make sure that they were being really thorough following the right course of action.
Yeah, the charges are serious too. The female nurse has been
serious.
charged with threatening violence, using a carriage service to threaten, to kill and to menace. I think he's been charged with using a carriage service to menace, harass, offend, threaten to menace, harass or cause offence, along with possessing a prohibited drug as well. Her ones are actually more serious than his. The reaction of Australians, I guess, is well, I was going to say, is it a unified horror that people can think like this, or is there some sympathy for these people in certain areas or causes?
Oh, look, I don't, spend a lot of time on social media, so I haven't tracked what the response to this is. It's been fairly muted across the media. I mean, factually reported. I think in a way, Donald Trump's ups and downs and roundabouts has rather taken over the media cycle, along with the cyclone. So, I'm sure in some areas that there's some commentary, but not at a wider public view. I think it's kind of like, job done. They've been charged, and that's how it should be.
They claimed to have harmed people, and that was the thing in that video as well. It wasn't about that they were going to, it was that they had, indeed, that they are responsible for the death of. Are there any investigation into whether or not those claims were true or not?
I think pretty much within a day or two of them being the video coming out, the head of the health department said that they had looked into it and that there had been none. So they shut that down pretty quickly. There's been no further announcement or report on that since that time. So you'd kind of maybe question how they could come to that conclusion so quickly. But it certainly hasn't popped its head up again.
Okay. The very fact that these two would feel sufficient confidence, because I think they were at Bankstown Hospital when they made that video, or were on that particular call, that would suggest to me, I guess that would be the disturbing thing for me, that that they feel sufficient confidence to be able to say those things, as extreme as they might be and as inaccurate as they might be as well. Nonetheless, that there must be an environment in which that's considered normal in terms of thought and deed.
Look, I get where you're going, and I'm sure that there are a part of the community that feel that way. And that whether they said that, just to stir it up and they didn't kind of mean it. I think that you're right. There's a section of the community that feels that they are justified in that stance, jokingly, seriously or not.
I think the other thing that's interesting to me on this, though, is what's been the reaction of, well, for example, Islamic organisations and things like that? Have they come out, as they would have in New Zealand, I suspect, and condemned these actions and these words?
Absolutely, absolutely. The community leaders and the religious leaders have many of them, not all of them, have come out and said that it's not standard. They don't support it. Again, I think, as I've said to you before, I think there's quite a strong effort by interfaith leaders to really try and keep a communication going and trying to de-escalate this sort of stuff as much as they can, because it's difficult when you have parts of a community that are really, angry and pissed off, quite frankly.
Mm.